And you're welcome back. It's the Wake Up Nigeria for a Monday, and today we've been joined by the head corporate sales of the Old Mutual, that's Old Mutual Assurance, am I correct?
Nigeria Life Assurance.
Good, life insurance. Mr. Tubi Makodrola, you are welcome.
Morning.
It's not the first time we're meeting.
We've
met before. We've
yes,
done radio
we
together. I mean, you've been on my radio show from way back.
Yeah.
So you're
about
still
3-4
with Old
years
Mutual.
ago.
You were with Old Mutual then?
Yes, I am still with Old Mutual.
What exactly do you do for Old Mutual?
So currently I head the corporate sales division for Old Mutual.
Okay, now you're a big boy.
I head the corporate sales division for Old Mutual Nigeria Life Assurance.
Yeah. Old Mutual must have been around for almost 200 years. What exactly?
Well, not quite. Well, the Old Mutual business has been around for 176 plus years. It'll be 177 this year.
Oh, okay, wow, that is a lot. And what exactly is it that Old Mutual offers to people? Why should we have Old Mutual on our radars? Why should it be top on our minds?
So Old Mutual is a premium financial services provider, specialized in savings, protection, and investment. By protection, it would mean providing insurance solutions across life insurance and short-term insurance, which we also know as general insurance business. We have a presence across 14 countries on the African continent, including Nigeria, of course. And then on Nigeria, we have a short-term insurance business and a life insurance business.
Okay, oh, that's interesting. So in Nigeria, when you say insurance in Nigeria, people think Jesus. Well,
Correct.
Why is it so exactly, and why shouldn't we be having that kind of a mindset as people who live a life filled with plenty, things that might just go off here or there?
So when I think about the word insurance, what readily just comes to mind is continuity. And I think if the mindset changes for people, anytime they hear the word insurance, they think of continuity, then I think it helps the conversation better. Insurance is essentially a vehicle that is used to mitigate financial losses. I mean, I was seeing the news this morning, the accident that happened, and it's a good example of where insurance, would come into play. The guys that died or passed on in the commercial vehicle left their homes yesterday.
Wow. Yeah.
Not knowing that was actually going to happen. And now they have loved ones they've left behind, and their lives may actually just come to a grinding halt as a result of that incident. That's where insurance is useful, to ensure continuity of the lives of the ones you leave behind.
So you have a couple of packages or products that suit Nigerians specifically. Can you give us some of these ones? Which one would you like to tell us about that might be of good concern right now?
So for our life solutions, we've got a number of solutions. We've got our credit life insurance, we've got the key man risk insurance, and then we've got the group life insurance. I'd like to focus on the group life insurance.
All right, tell us about the group life insurance, please.
So the group life insurance, interestingly, is actually mandated by law, by the Pension Reform Act of 2004 and 2014. It basically mandates every employer of labor to take up a life insurance policy, which would be on the group basis now, for every employee of that organization. This benefit is meant to be an equivalent of 3 times the annual total emoluments of each employee.
Can you explain that for the people in the back who don't really understand that? It's 3 times the annual
total emolument. So prior to the act, it used to be based on what we call BHT elements, which would be basic housing, and for those that are informal organizations. So they just work with the elements of basic housing and transport elements. But the government realized it wasn't going to fulfill, the agenda in itself, which is to ensure that whatever is going to be paid to beneficiaries is actually substantial. So that act mandated that it now has to be a function of the annual total emolument. So it includes all forms of allowances, and in the event of life's eventualities like death, the named beneficiaries of employees, would have something to, jumpstart or continue their lives like I had mentioned.
Now, this notice to who? Is it to the employers or the employees? Who should take special note of this? Now, you say it's mandated.
Yes.
To employers, I would imagine.
Yes.
What about compliance? Are employers actually complying?
So compliance is a different conversation entirely.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Compliance, and I'd like to use state governments as an example. So as of 2020, we only had about 5 states in the whole federation complying with that law. In terms of the private sector, We have a number of organizations also complying, but I'd like to put it that compliance is not where it should be. For multinationals, yes, they understand the importance of the group life insurance policy, so they take it without being compelled to. But for small businesses, small and medium enterprises, small corporates here in Nigeria, if it's not what they need, say they need to apply for a tender or a bid where it's mandatory, they typically don't see the importance. Yeah, which isn't right. Because every business essentially thrives on its people.
Yeah.
You start out a business, you have a goal, you have a vision, you have an objective, which you need people to help you accomplish your drive.
So you need to take care of those people so they can take care of your business.
Essentially.
So now, if the compliance is not 100% by the employers,
Yes.
what about the employees? What can they do to ensure that they at least are making notes that these are requirements for them?
So for those that will be in paid employment or formal organizations, essentially your contracts of employment should actually show that. Very much the same way your pension contributions are explicitly stated, in your terms of employment. It should also include that your employer has a group life insurance policy in the event of untimely death of that employee. That should actually be clearly spelled out. Now, where that is not spelled out in the terms of employment, the Act actually also mandates that every employer that has this must publicly display a copy of the insurance certificate, in their offices. So as an employee, all you need to do is once you don't see that, publicly displayed in organization, you have a right to ask questions to be sure.
This is before or after I don't get the job. Because if you ask me, do people have group life? This one never ready for job. But that's a problem we face in Nigeria. People actually, we know that we have certain rights and that we should actually ask.
Yeah, which we aren't enforcing or asking questions.
Maybe we would ask questions if we knew exactly how much we stand to gain. So how exactly would this be calculated, the group life, when it comes to an individual now
like I said, it's tied to your annual total emoluments, and it's 3 times. So a typical example is if I'm on an annual salary of 2 million, without punching too much numbers, you should know that in the event of my death, my loved ones, would be paid 6 million.
So that's 3 times my annual.
3 times. It's that simple.
Wow.
And the process of claiming isn't also very demanding. Just a few documentations and it becomes payable.
So what else is Old Mutual also offering people apart from the few ones that you've mentioned right now?
So like under the life insurance arm of our business, I mentioned credit life insurance as well, which is essentially targeted to individuals or businesses that take up loans or facilities, to help drive their businesses. I mean, you've committed yourself or exposed yourself to a liability, and then debt occurs, or then you become critically ill, you're not able to repay that loan. So that policy kicks into that. The group life insurance policy as well actually offers extensions. So that policy is only basically only meant to cover, the basic policy is only meant to drive death. But you can actually add extensions to it that cover critical illness, that cover disability, and also funeral expenses as well, that become payable immediately death is confirmed.
You also take into account specific high-risk type individuals, perhaps maybe if somebody has a high-risk type habit. I don't know, I'm asking because I'm a biker.
Yeah, so certain factors under the group life as an example, age plays a critical role. Obviously, the older you are, the more exposed or vulnerable you are to certain certain conditions. And then your intended payout benefit as well plays a role. If your payout is above a certain threshold, you'll be subjected to a medical examination. But it's not to say that you will not be covered. It's just to say that it would influence pricing. I mean, for someone that is classified as a standard life, I would not charge that person the same rate, I'll be charging someone that is high risk, in quote.
In quote. So I'm high risk then, I guess. I've gone and told you I shouldn't have done that. But real quick, how do we get started as individuals if we want to take advantage, just so they know, real quick? We're out of time, but that's very important.
Yes, and essentially all we'll need for anyone that is interested, it would be a schedule of employees, providing names, dates of birth, gender, and annual total emoluments. We'll come up with a quote, and then we can start the policy.
Mr. Tubi, Thank you very much.
Thank you so
Grant
much.
to meet you once again.
Yeah,
Next
same
time I
here.
meet you, I'm sure your car is going to be bigger. You're going to have a bigger status. But it's good to see you
Thanks,
again.
same
You're
here
doing
as well.
good. Looking
All
good
right,
too.
then.
Do stay tuned. We've got more inside of Wake Up Nigeria.